Bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Jonas Siegel. Got Steve Phillips coming up, home run derby. You're a derby guy, Jonas?
When I was a kid, I loved it. And
so
now
good.
I don't love it.
They've just made too many rule changes, which sounds kind of silly, but I don't really follow like the pyramid of winning anymore. You know what I mean? It used to be a clock, and you had to hit as many as you could, and then you just move on.
That's not how it works anymore?
No, now it's like you get unlimited pitches, and you can stop the clock. I don't know. It's confusing. Bring back the old days. That's what I'm calling.
I just
for.
remember with Griffey, backwards hat.
Oh, it was unreal. Back in the day, it was amazing. Although everything was. When you were a kid, everything was different. The All-Star game meant so much more. Like now, I'm so much more cynical. Yeah, it's just a waste of everyone's time. All right, so Steve Phillips in about a half an hour on the Jays, kind of sputtering down the stretch, but they are at the All-Star break, leading the American League East. The Sox have won 10 in a row. We'll get his take on that and more. Keegan Matheson coming up. Keegan's going to be co-hosting with us a little bit later in the week, so we'll put him through the ringer. Look forward to that, seeing Keegan in here. But I am an OHL alum, barely, but I am, and I guess for that matter, a CHL alum. And this story that's been kind of building the last 6 months to a year has been concerning me, quite frankly. And it really came to a head with Gavin McKenna. I think it came out last week. He's going to Penn State, reportedly making $700,000 with the NIL rules down there. So he's gone. He's leaving the WHL. And Frank Saravelli, among others, were reporting that in the new CBA, NHL teams will be allowed to have one 19-year-old kid play in the American Hockey League. So this year, that could have been Easton Cowan. Maybe he doesn't go back to London. He's playing for the Marlies. I believe it's somewhat of an attack on the OHL, the CHL. I'm curious what our next guest has to say about it. Here he is, the commissioner of the OHL. Here's Brian Crawford. How you doing, Brian?
Afternoon, guys. Doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, doing very well. Am I overstating that, understating that? Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I mean, way overstating it. Okay. You know, I think that it's been certainly an incredible time of change. The change to the NCAA ranking back in the fall has led to kind of a complete overhaul of development, and certainly this year we've been an incredible beneficiary. Signing, dozens of players from other leagues that have come to the OHL that, perhaps had chosen a different path. As you know, a 15-year-old before had to make a decision about where they were going to play and what they wanted their future to look like at a really young age. And now they have what is, we view a great opportunity to play in our league and develop here, and then have the opportunity to continue to pursue hockey. And for some, that might be at the NHL level. For some, that might be at the AHL level. For some, that might give them the opportunity to move on to the NCAA. And, I think that's a great thing for the development ecosystem. It's a great thing for our league and the quality of our league and just hockey in general.
So when you hear the numbers thrown around, again, it's the early days of this, the NIL stuff down in the States with the NCAA, but like if Gavin McKenna, who's a WHL player, is making $700,000, how's he going to possibly turn that down? He didn't. He's off to Penn State. He's a phenom. He's unanimously expected to go first overall next year. Like, how do you respond to those numbers? And is it possible for you to compete with them, or are you not thinking of it in the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, obviously, we of course want Gavin McKenna in the CHL, a generational player, and, he's going to be successful wherever he goes. But I think that he's unquestionably an outlier in that regard, in that a player of his quality can have that success wherever he's going to go. He's going to be a first-round pick, head off to the NHL. That's not every player, right? And that's not even the majority of the players. We know that the NCAA is a much, much older league and has traditionally been a much, much older league. You look at the Frozen Four, you look at the average age of the teams. So it's not the best development environment for, most 18, 19-year-old players because it is such an older league than the CHL is. So I think that that's a big factor in all of this as well. And the teams that are looking to win in the NCAA, they have a better likelihood to do that with older players. Now, generational players like Gavin and some other players may have an opportunity to go down there and have success. But that's a little bit of what I think needs to shake out as well, is to see that, hey, not getting top line minutes, not getting power play minutes, those sorts of things aren't actually the best pathway for a player to develop. For us in the OHL, there are 2 players that have chosen to forego their 19-year-old season at this point in time and head off to the NCAA early. We have quite a number of players that as OAs and those that have also graduated after being an overage player that have gone on, which is now a fantastic opportunity for them to continue to pursue, their hockey goals. Right? So that's kind of where we are, and we need to see, how things continue to develop and focus on, for us, what has made us the best development league in the world, and the stats bear that out. And, we'll focus on continuing to improve the player experience, doing more in the areas of sports science and strength and conditioning and nutrition and all the sorts of things that impact the player experience and also create better hockey players.
That's actually what I was curious about, Brian. What do you think do you think you need to adapt, change? How do you think the OHL, the CHL will, evolve, I guess, in light of all this?
Well, absolutely. We have to continue to adapt. We have to continue to adapt and evolve regardless of this change. And this change is one that, requires, everybody in the hockey ecosystem to adapt, right? Now being able to say, we'll truly have all the best 16, 17, 18-year-old players that are available in playing hockey. And the reality is we need to make sure that we're doing the right things so that they continue with us as 18 and 19-year-olds, continue to develop, that we provide all of the sorts of tools that are necessary to ensure that a player can reach their development goals, right? And so if we're not doing those things, then we are going to fall behind. We are going to be left behind. We're just, comfortable with sitting on, hey, we've had the most number of draft choices, the majority of the players in the NHL, those sorts of things. Well, that's not always going to be the case. And certainly, we're competitive and want to continue to make sure that we maintain the pole position.
With Brian Crawford, the commissioner of the OHL. And, that's a point that I hadn't thought of, the idea that I remember when I was coming up, there was great players that wouldn't play in the OHL. I wasn't one of them, but they wanted to keep, their options alive. I think of a guy like Mike Camilleri. Cammy went to Michigan. He clearly would have been in the OHL at 16. He would have gone first overall. Played at 16, played at 17. Maybe he goes, to Michigan after that, based on where we currently stand. But in terms of this provision that was reported on last week, and I don't know if it's 100% confirmed from the league, but it sounds as if the NHL and the NHLPA have brokered a deal here where each NHL team, so 32 current teams, will be afforded or allowed one 19-year-old CHL player to play in the American Hockey League. If and when that comes to fruition, how would you react to that?
Yeah, so first of all, not accurate.
Okay.
So there is a provision right now in the agreement between the NHL and the NHLPA, and then, of course, ourselves, the CHL and the NHL, that does allow the 19-year-old players to play, a fixed number of games in the AHL, but does require them to go back to junior hockey.
Okay.
So in this current round of negotiations with the collective bargaining with the NHL and the NHLPA, they've agreed to open that provision and look at what that might look like going forward, and whether providing teams and general managers the leeway to do something like that is in the best interests of the league, in the best interests of the development environment. So as it stands today, nothing has actually been decided about mechanics or anything like that, if it is even to go forward. And those are discussions that we actually are very much active in with the NHL in talking about how best to proceed and move forward. We would certainly contend that the AHL is not the best environment for a 19-year-old. Very, very few 19-year-olds, in fact. It's not just about scoring 100 points in the OHL that decides, kind of whether that person should be moving on or not. You think about a 19-year-old, think about Easton Cowan coming back to the Knights this year. He's the man, right? He's the man. He's the man on the ice. He's the man off the ice, in the dressing room, all around media, all those sorts of things, the leadership qualities, all the pieces that make for a great NHL or a great prospective NHL hockey player that they can gather. The AHL is a man's league, right? They're men trying to